day like this and for the gift of light. We do not take this gift of life for granted. We do not take all that you have done in our colleagues' life for granted. Therefore, we have gathered here and we want to say thank you. And we want to give you the glory for all that you have done. We ask, oh God, that you preside over this meeting, you preside over this ceremony, and order it, oh God, so that at the end we'll be able to say it is you that has done it. We give you the glory, we give you the praise. In the name of Jesus Christ, your Son, have we prayed. Amen. Amen. Shall we be seated, please?
Thank you very much, Professor Evelyn Ansa. Madam Vice Chancellor, Professor Lydia Aziato, the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Deans of Schools, Directors of Institutes, Convocation, students, invited guests, our esteemed, distinguished lecturer, ladies and gentlemen, the media, Tobio, Mamao, it is with great pleasure that we gather here this morning to celebrate yet another milestone in the academic journey of a distinguished man. In UHAS, as young as we are honored and privileged to have chalked such many successes and achievements. And today, Professor Oluwaseum Omotayo, the dean, the first head of department who started our School of Sports and Exercise Medicine, the one who dreamt of that program in this university, is going to give us an Exaugural lecture. We have witnessed 7 inaugural lectures. Today is our first Exaugural lecture, and I am honored to announce to us all that this is the first Exaugural lecture in Ghana. And so, like I said, as young as UHAS is, we are really achieving laurels. And Professor Omotayo is going to go into the annals of this university's history as the first lecturer who gave an Exaugural lecture. We acknowledge his remarkable achievements, dedication, and contributions to the academia and to the world of science. Important as this event is to our academics and professors, we share research ideas to the university community and the nation and global at large. Throughout his career, Professor Oluwaseum Omotayo has demonstrated a passion for advancing knowledge, inspiring students, and pushing the boundaries of innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the Cedi Auditorium of the University of Health and Allied Sciences to listen to this great man of ours. Thank you very much. I now invite Professor One, as we call her, our professor. The University of Health and Allied Sciences is privileged again to have our first woman as professor. Today is not her day, so I will not go on. But Professor Lydia Aziato, our Vice Chancellor, is coming to introduce to us and share who our lecturer is today. With a round of applause, shall we welcome Professor?
Good morning to all of us, and a warm welcome to the University of Ghana. To our guests from Nigeria, welcome to Ghana, welcome to the Volta region, welcome to Ho, and welcome to our Sokode campus of the University of Health and Allied Sciences. Pro Vice Chancellor Registrar, my esteemed Togbo Mamao, my esteemed guests from Nigeria, our deans, directors, convocation, heads of departments, our dear students, the choir, even the cultural troupe, I'm sure they can hear me somewhere, wherever you are. We acknowledge all of us here present. One may ask, what's the difference between inaugural lecture and a exaugural lecture? For our dear students, for your sake, I want to take a minute to explain the difference. Inaugural lecture is to call you into professorship. When you become a full professor, you give a lecture to tell the world how you got here. You can give an inaugural lecture at age 20, 50, 60, wherever you got it. At the time, you tell the world how you got it. So that is inaugural. Exaugural lectures are given at the end of one's academic journey. At the time you are bowing down, at the time you are retiring from academia, you tell the world what you have contributed, the impact you've made thus far, and then you bow out. So that is the difference between inaugural and exaugural lectures. Ghanaian universities, usually we give inaugural lectures, but we have started the tradition of giving exaugural lectures. Some months back, Professor Omotayo approached management to say, for reason one or two that he may be willing to share with us today, at the age of 64, he's saying enough is enough to academia. He's bowing down today. And so he asked for an opportunity to give an exaugural lecture to share with the world the impact he's made for 37 years in academia. So today, we want to introduce to you who Professor Omotayo is. And the brochure that you have gives a detailed background or profile of Professor Omotayo. Here, I'll just say a few things about him. And I'm sure that his lecture will add more to his journey. And so I wouldn't want to take too much of that time that he has to share his own story. Professor Omotayo is a professor of sports psychology. Sports psychology. When he mounts the stage, he will tell us what that means. Sports psychology. And the registrar mentioned that he was the first professor to be called to come and serve the University of Health and Allied Sciences for our program of sports and exercise medicine. So he came down from Nigeria to help develop the curriculum, go through the accreditation. The first cohort of students, he brought them in. So we acknowledge this support, this contribution to the university. He was born in 1960. So he actually asked to give his inaugural lecture, exaugural lecture on his birthday. But unfortunately, we had other events, so it couldn't happen. But we said that this July, we'll create space for him. So he was born on the 11th of June, 1960, and both parents are late. I'm sure that he will tell us about the parents when he's recounting his journey. Of course, being a Nigerian, he started his school in Nigeria, both primary, secondary, and all that. The brochure will give us the dates thereof. When he finished the basic education, he had his first degree in physical health education in 1983. I'm sure some of us were not born then, in the University of Ibadan. And he did his MPhil and PhD with specialization in sports psychology way back in 1990 when he finished his PhD. The SSS students, I'm sure the majority of you were also not born in the same University of Ibadan. He told me, I'm sure you can read from the profile also, that he wanted to join the army. And if you look at his body, his height and everything, I'm sure he would have been a very good soldier, but he didn't get the opportunity. So he ended up in academia. But then, because of his athletic achievements, acumen, skills, he contributed a lot in the area of sports. So he was appointed a sports coach at the University of Ibadan Sports Council in 1986. He joined the Department of Sports and Exercise Sports Science and Health Education in 1987, and he worked very hard to achieve a professorial level in 1998. So if he finished his PhD in 1990, it took him just 8 years to achieve a professorial level. So convocation faculty, it is doable. If you work hard, you can get here. So he was appointed a professor in the Department of Exercise and Sports Technology in Kenyatta University in Nairobi in 2002. So last time when we came to Professor Togbi Tagbo's inaugural lecture, I mentioned that in a university, you have to start from associate professor before professor. So he was associate professor 1998, and in 2002, he became a full professor. As part of his journey, he was appointed as a Secretary General and Chief Operating Officer by the Ogun State, Nigeria, to organize the National Sports Festival in 2004. In fact, Professor Omotayo has done a lot in the area of sports. Now, to affirm that, if you are able to visit where we exhibited his scholarly work, you see a lot of medals on the table and some awards that are sitting there to substantiate his achievements as a sportsman or a sports psychologist. Let me put it that way. So he was the first Nigerian to win the International Council for Health, Physical Education, Recreation Sports and Dance Outstanding Sport Leadership Award in 2005 at the Anniversary World Congress in Turkey. The first Nigerian. So our professor is the first also to give a Exaugural lecture in Ghana. So he's first. And he was also one of the recipients of the Olympic Researcher Award at the London 2012 Olympic Games. Professor Omotayo, we appreciate your hard work, your achievements, your awards. Please take a little time to read the brochure that you have been given. All the profile high achievements are there. So, I want to go to Yuhas. When he came here, what did he do? So, he was appointed a visiting scholar in 2019. That is when he came in to help us develop the curriculum for our sports and exercise medicine program. And he helped to recruit staff, and the first cohort, he was the head of department that admitted them. So on behalf of council, management, staff, and students of UHAS, we want to thank Professor Omotayo for coming to Ghana during the COVID-19, 2019, 2020, 2021 was COVID. But Professor Omotayo came and worked with the team on the ground to develop our program. Professor, thank you so much. So on that particular score, the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine, I'm sure when it's time for presentations, will show their appreciation to our distinguished professor. But today, we are not here to only listen to biography. We are here to listen to his contribution to knowledge, his science, his research. So apart from his journey, he will also tell us in terms of research what he has done over the 37 years in academia. And he became the editor-in-chief of the International Journal of Multidisciplinary Studies and Sports Research. And through that work, he was able to help other researchers publish their science or their research findings. He was also a consulting editor of the Journal of African Association of Health, Physical Education, Recreation, Sports, and Dance. And now he's a coordinator of the Africa Sports Research Network, the whole of Africa. So I'm sure online are his mentees, online are his mentors, online are his collaborators across the world watching us today. And for all of you watching us online, we acknowledge you. Now, the title of today's lecture, Psychologizing in Sports, My 37 Years Odyssey. I'm sure that if I say anything more, I'll water it down. But I picked a few things from the abstracts in the brochure. And in the abstracts, Professor Omotayo promises today to tell us his journey, his career progression over the years. His lecture will also tell us some of the research activities that has yielded over 70 scholarly publications. The last time when I stood here, I mentioned to my convocation that it is not only the research that we are looking for. We are looking for your national and international achievements. A professor must not be professor local. So when I started, you see that our professor has the weight to merit the title professor. And so his lecture today will tell us some summaries, some key findings of the work he's done that has yielded over 70 publications. And so I don't want to take the wind out of his sail, but what I'm interested into here is actually the strategies he's proposing, insulating sports facilities for mega games from a decade ahead or before us. So on behalf of all of us here present, both the family members, everybody here, Professor Omotayo, we say that you have done well, you deserve our congratulations, and we want your presentation, your achievement to inspire the young ones to even get to greater heights more than you have achieved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. We now invite the UHAS cultural troupe to give us a short display. Now, this troupe is made up of students and staff of this university. We also have the university choir. Soon you are going to hear from them also. Thank you. Yes, cultural true. Thank you very much. And with that exciting moment, shall we, with another thunderous applause, invite our distinguished lecturer, Professor Omotayo.
Thank you very much, the multimedia team. I also want to start today's lecture on a note that looks a little bit different. I heard the cultural troupe said a cabo, and in Ghana is akwaba. That's very interesting to me. And when they said a cabo, when they were leaving, they were throwing their hands like this that you can go. Yes, I will go. Because it's an exaugural. Then I want to publicly acknowledge one of my cliché, and I'm sure my acting dean will be happy about it. Let us start this lecture with my prayer. With God, without the devil, we start this lecture. I'm sure Professor Nicote will now believe that I believe in that prayer. Then again, I want us to be laughing. Let us be laughing. We need to laugh, because laughing is indeed good for healthy living. But I tell you, in the last 37 years, laughing has contributed to some of my achievements as a sports psychologist in the last 37 years. All of us are familiar with the topic, but I must acknowledge something here, that when I delivered my diamond lecture, the person that gave the topic to me after writing the content of the 60th anniversary diamond lecture, the person that gave that topic, I acknowledge that person. And that's my immediate younger brother, Professor Omotayo. I think at this point, I must let this gathering know that my family is actually a family of professors. I'm a professor of 22 years now. My immediate younger brother, Professor Omotayo, who is currently the director, National Institute for Strategic Studies in Nigeria, has been a professor too now for close to 12, 13 years. And who I can call the baby of my family is also a professor, somebody that I sent to secondary school. Today, he's also a professor of aging and retirement, Professor Oluwaseum Olanrewaju. But why did I go that route? I'm also happy that the personality with whom we decided on this topic, the aspect I contributed in this topic is psychologizing in sports. The other aspect, my 37 years Odyssey, was actually contributed by Professor Oluwaseum Olanrewaju, who is also present here. So I don't want it to appear as if I'm the only one that sat down and thought of this type of unique topic. Professor Ajayi was part of it. The Vice Chancellor has actually said a lot about this lecture. So let me go to the salutation so that nobody's left out. The Vice Chancellor, the Pro-Vice Chancellor, the Registrar, the University Librarian, Deans of Schools, Directors of Institutes, Heads of Departments, Professors and members of Academic Board of UHAS, faculty and staff of the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine, Directors and staff of non-teaching university directorates, Royal Majesties, my Lord Spiritual and Temporal, past presidents of University of Ibadan, Junior Chambers, the JCs, professors and members of Academic Board, faculty and staff of my school, the president and members of Sports Psychology Association of Nigeria, the GIWA and members of Egbe Bobagunte, Okorin Asiwaju Akile Ijebu, the GIWA and members of Egbe Jagumolu Asiwaju Akile Ijebu, the president and members of Ijebu Ode Club, the executive board and members of African Sports Management Association, President International Students Football Union, patrons, advisory board, ambassadors, and the secretariat of the African Students Football Union, president and members of the board of World Association for Sports Management, president and managing director of Qatar Independent Golf Association, the advisory board, board of studies, and operations team of the International Sports Institute, the pastor and members of Redeemed Christian Church, Shekinah Parish, Ho, Volta Region, convener and distinguished members of the Family United by Sports in Nigeria, my siblings and managers of the Oriola Olubisi Foundation, my children home and in diaspora, all Omotayo and Oefeso descendants, home and diaspora, distinguished members of the Fourth Estate of the Realm. 20 out of my 37 years, I spent in universities outside Nigeria. So my heart is full of joy with appreciation to God that I'm delivering this Exaugural lecture as it was announced, first in UHAS and indeed first in Ghana. And I think it will not be out of place if I mention that I'm actually the first professor of sports psychology that will be so honored in Africa. This unique academic sojourn actually ends today, 25th of July 2024. And it's also unique because it's Thursday, I'm a Thursday born. So that is happening on Thursday. On my actual born day, it's also unique to me. Vice Chancellor, I want to thank you for changing June 11 to June 25. This is indeed a day appointed by our indefatigable Vice Chancellor, Professor Lydia Aziato, supported by our untiring registrar, Miss Yamankwa Opuni, and ordained by God. At this point, the Vice Chancellor has mentioned where I was born, but she did not know that at some point in my life, if somebody asks me, where are you from? I will say I'm from Aberdeen and University of Ibadan, because I knew no other place than that community inside the University of Ibadan, because I was born and bred within the university community. So my parents, whose name are listed there, those are the two people that sowed the seed that is today Professor Omotayo. Though they are long gone, I want to believe that all of us here who know the two of them when they were alive, we know that they also did a lot to ensure that not only their siblings or their children were taken care of. Anybody around these two individuals will know and will never forget in a hurry how much motherly and fatherly both of them were. So these are the people that sowed the seed. Then the secondary school I attended, everything is well articulated in the brochure and in the lecture itself. But it was at University of Ibadan that I was socialized into the world of academics, which plateau I have reached with the delivery of this exaugural lecture to signpost my retirement from the classroom after 37 years. Retirement from the classroom. Please note that. I've been researching and rendering community services, which has taken me beyond the shores of Nigeria. I'm in Ghana now. I was in Kenya, and I was in the United Kingdom. My Vice Chancellor mentioned that I attempted to be a military man. My Vice Chancellor, that is very true. I actually was asked to come for interview at the Nigerian Defense Academy after being successful at the qualifying examination. But I think destiny did not want me to be a military man. So after being admitted into the military, the quota system in Nigeria said that they have gone above the number of individuals to be admitted into the army in my state. So when they brought all our figures together, I came third in my state, and they needed only 2. So they took off my military attire. I said I should go home. They even paid me to travel back. But I tell you, my inspiration actually came from my grandfather. We call him Baba Kano. He was a veteran of the First World War. And he used to demonstrate to us how he used to carry machine gun and so on. So as a small child, I became interested in the army. They have an uncle, Major Omotayo, who died about 10 years ago, who also used to come and visit my father in military uniform. I see the way they give him a compliment when he comes back from his Land Rover. Then Nigeria was prosecuting a civil war. So when he comes, he'll be wearing khaki. So I also want to wear that khaki. So those two people were my inspiration, but I think God had a different approach for me. So that aspect of my life was aborted. Then my university life. After attending CSC Grammar School Ibadan, I went to attend the Federal School of Arts and Science from my higher school. And I joined. I wanted to gain admission into the university actually to study history so that I can then go into journalism. But history again, or destiny, made me to be rejected to come and study history. And I was lamenting where I was when I ran into my secondary school games master. We call him Uncle Femi. He's now an emeritus professor of exercise and physiology, who actually took me to the Department of Physical Health Education to be processed for admission to study physical and health education. I must confess that what endeared me to Uncle Femi Olabi was that When I was in the secondary school, in my second year in secondary school, 1,500 meters race is an open race for anybody in the school. So I joined that race, and I defeated everybody except one in Form 2. And that was how I became the youngest person to represent my school at Graya Power, which is a very wide event at that time. So I was the youngest school athlete in the history of that secondary school. And that took me off labor work. When others are cutting grass, me, I must go and be training. Since some senior students that are not happy about it, we say, go and stoop down the Omotayo. This Uncle Femi will say, Omotayo, go to the field and go and be running. So, my Vice Chancellor and distinguished chairperson of this auspicious occasion, the Pro-Vice Chancellor, the Registrar, the University Librarian, the Acting Dean, School of Sports and Exercise Medicine, the Head of Department, faculty and staff of the Department of Sports and Exercise Medical Sciences, my teachers and very senior professors, former Sports Minister, Professor Tahid Adedoja, erudite geologist, Professor Owolabi Ajayi, colleague, sibling professors in the Omotayo family, Professor Omotayo, current Director General, National Institute for Sports, Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, and Professor Temitope Omotayo of the Exaural University of Education, the first specialized University of Education in Nigeria. My uncle-in-law, Chief Paul Idedia, and his amiable wife, that's my big sister, Mrs. Olushola Idedia, trustees of the Oriola Olubisi Omotayo Foundation, the Omotayo, the Oyefeso, and the Obalaja families, my biological siblings, Engineer Tola Omotayo, Mrs. Tosin Ahmed, the Florence Nightingale of the Omotayo family, and Labake Akombi, all Omotayo descendants, home and diaspora, the Afonjas, the Amits, the Akombis, the Alakas, great Aberdenites where I grew up, the president and entire members of Sports Psychology Association of Nigeria, SPAN, members of African Sports Management Association, the national president and members of Ibadan Christ Apostolic Grammar School, Old Boys Association, the governor and members of the 1976 set at CSC Grammar School, where I was the house captain anyway, particularly senior advocate of Nigeria, Abidemi Isoya. My mates at the Federal School of Arts and Science, past students, mine and revered evergreen life mentor, Baba Tunde Oshobi, the past president and entire membership of University of Ibadan Junior Chambers, the Ibadan JCs, my first boss in life, Chief Siapobeni, my Giwa Samonsagudu, Dr. Niyi Oshoba, Otungiwa Shegun Adekoya, Etagiwa and Ashiwaju Lekan Teriba, members of Council of Chiefs of Egbebo Bagute, Ashiwaju Akilejebu, the executives and entire members of Egbebo Bagute Okorin, Ashiwaju Akilejebu, the president and members of Jebode Club, the Lord Sheriff Oluwaseum Kona of Jebode Club, Professor James O.S. Banjo, the Iyalode of Jebode Club, Alahaja O. Ajigbotesho, Olori Ebi, Mr. David Shobande, FCA, and all of my B, wherever they are, I'm sure they are glued to their Zoom now. The convener of all members of the family united by sports, patrons, president, ambassadors, and executive secretary, African Students Football Union, members of the advisory board and board of studies of the entire operations team of International Sports Institute, ISI. I tell you all that indeed, what Professor Olabi told me on that day, Uncle Femi, no regrets, last words were the words of assurance that made me to change my mind to go and study physical and health education. And that changed the trajectory of my thoughts. This set me on the academic path, which reached a glorious crescendo that we are celebrating today, Thursday, 25 July 2024. Coincidentally, the same Professor Femi Owolabi delivered the first lecture I received as a university student. He actually gave a lecture in a PhD 402, Anatomy and Physiology. And on that day, today marks 44 years that I received my first lecture as a university student by Professor Femi Owolabi, one man that I hold in very high esteem. My training at University of Ibadan, I will gloss over that. I want to say that the best place to go and train for sports science and health education is actually University of Ibadan, because that university had the best academics in the field of sports science and management. And I am lucky, I would say I'm lucky, to have passed through all those professors and doctors at that time. I listed their names there and what they taught us at that time. But I must state this. I haven't seen it before, and I'm sure Uncle Femi will be somewhere hearing this. When we were being given our scores in anatomy and physiology, I know very well that I scored, I think, 78. And Uncle Femi said, "Who is this person that scored 78? And I raised my hand. He looked at me and said, "I'm going to deduct 2 points from your mark." I said, "Uncle Femi, why?" Because that is how fondly we call him. He said, "I taught you adenosine triphosphate. I told you, so I didn't teach you epinephrine. Where did you get the word epinephrine?" I said, "I did extra study." He said, "He didn't ask me to do any of that extra study." So he deducted 2 from my marks. I have not forgiven Uncle Femi for that. Then Professor Sohi, that's the man that actually made Professor Omotayo. But I must mention something. When I got to the postgraduate school, I had problem with figures. And then when I got home, I cried to my younger brother, whom I know is very brilliant and very good figures. I said, "Ayo, do you want your senior brother to pass out of this postgraduate work?" I said, he used to call me by name. I said, "Ayo, come. I don't understand all these figures in statistics." So I said, "Don't worry, I will teach you." That was how my younger brother became my home teacher in statistics. And he was joined by my cousin, Dr. Adine Koyefeso now. But all of us were in the postgraduate school, but they taught me statistics. And with what they taught me in statistics, I must confess to you, these two people made me to score an A in my master's dissertation at that time. So I'm very grateful to them. And I know that my prayers for the two of them is still hanging on them because they are still progressing in life. In 1983, after the last practical assessment, Dr. Sohi called me aside and told me that Omotayo is an Indian, so he doesn't speak the kind of, maybe Canaan will be here and will know what I'm talking about. "Oh, Omotayo, come. I went to him and he said, "Everybody is asking that you have to come for a postgraduate program." And I said, "Yes, I have it in mind." He said, "Please, when you come here, just come and study sports psychology. Don't go and study exercise physiology," which was trending at that time. And because of my strength in the science aspect of physical health education, he knew ordinarily I would go to exercise physiology. Then he said, "So you come to psychology?" I said, "Yes, sir." I just answered him just for him to release me and go away. So I applied, and I put exercise physiology there. I was given admission, and when I was being registered, the registering doctor started giving me courses in psychology. And I said, "Excuse me, my admission letter reads exercise physiology. Why are you giving me psychology courses? I had forgotten my discussion with Sohi. He now said, oh, you are not strong in science. I said, that is not possible, sir. You can check my records. So when he checked my record, he saw that the list I scored in all the science courses was 70. He now said, it's okay. So he wants you in psychology. Immediately I remembered. And in those days, you dare not argue with your lecturers. So I agreed reluctantly. And I think that reluctance has paid off. This is Professor Sohi, my mentor and the man that has made Professor Omotayo. This is one man that though he passed on 26 years ago, I have not used the word late as a prefix to his name, because he is still very much alive in me as a consummate sports management scientist and sports and exercise psychologist. He was an erudite scholar who was everything to me in the subject matter of sports psychology. And I pray that his soul continue to rest in peace. At this point, maybe quietly where we are sat, let us just observe a minute silence in his memory. May his gentle soul continue to rest in peace. My Vice Chancellor said I would delve into what sports psychology is all about. And I'm not going to do much about that because it is in the lecture itself that have been produced, which I'm sure will be distributed wide. And I'm sure people are following me on the barcode. I'm not going to take too much time on that, other than to go straight to some of the benefits of psychological services to critical stakeholders, athletes and sports coaches, particularly including but not limited to the following. And they're also well listed, and all of us know them. I only talk about the few ones that may be a little bit difficult for us. The first thing is to instill confidence in people and to sensitize distractions. That is major in our work. Part of our work is to be able to identify trees of the forest, not the forest itself, because we deal with human beings and their soul. Sports psychologists are not interested in the team. We are interested in the individuals in that team. So that when those individuals have confidence, then the whole team has confidence. So other things are there with coaches, coach leader behavior, mental technical errors management, management of competition anxiety and arousal, adequate display of instrumental aggression. Because aggression are two, if I come and I slap my colleague soldiers that are here, that is a hostile aggression. But if the soldier arrests me effectively with handcuffs, that is instrumental aggression, because it's in the course of your work. So anything a sportsman can do in the course of his or her performance that will not violate the rules of the game is regarded as instrumental aggression. So we teach them to be instrumentally aggressive as against being hostile in terms of the display of aggression. Because there's no way you can be mentally tough. You cannot be tough mentally and you are not aggressive. The same thing is in anxiety. If you are not anxious about something, you cannot perform well. That's why in sports psychology, we merge anxiety with arousal. Because arousal itself is subsumed in anxiety. Then we are also instructed in social facilitation, upward social mobility of sportsmen and women. So those are the benefits. Again, there's this argument of who is the father of sports psychology or not. Is it a triplet who conducted the first research in sports psychology on elements of social facilitation? Or is it Abraham Coleman Griffith, who actually developed a laboratory for sports psychology at the Illinois University in 1925. I have always not joined in that argument. I've always asked people to take their position in their preference. Do you want to look at an icon that has infrastructure, or an icon that conducted the first research that is today has metamorphosed into a big body of knowledge called sports psychology? So if you're interested in infrastructure, then you will pick Coleman. But if you're interested in research, then you will pick Norman Triplett. Then the theoretical basis in sports psychology in my 37 years teaches me that we are rotating around 4 major theories: the trait state theory, the situational theory, the contagion theory, and the drive theory. I think the explanation of that will be left to students that will come into our sports psychology, Masters in Sports Psychology program that I'm sure the university will soon roll out in the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine. Then now, I'm a member of the Sports Psychology Association of Nigeria, but I was a founding member because I was there when my professors formed the Sports Psychology Association of Nigeria as a postgraduate student, riding on the wings of my mentor, Professor A.S.M. Sohi. But I later became the second president of that association. And today, I'm happy to state that one of my thoughts, one of my students that I produced, Professor Olanrewaju Omotayo, is the current president of that association. And the association is getting stronger and stronger. And I'm the chairman, board of trustees of that association. So much about that. Then, early practice opportunities. I worked with the track and field athletics team of Nigerian contingent, then preparing for the All-African Games held in Nairobi, Kenya, 1987. I was privileged to be the attached sports psychologist to the under-20 national team, the Flying Eagles then, preparing for the FIFA tournament in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia via the Association of Sports, Nigerian Sports Psychology Association of Nigeria. I was the second president, current chairman of the board of trustees. Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to inform this august gathering that my sports psychology-based published works in national and international peer-reviewed academic journals made me rise meritoriously to professorial rank and was appointed a professor of sports psychology in Kenyatta University in Nairobi, Kenya in the year 2002, making me the very first Nigerian and the Jebu son to be so elevated in East Africa. My academic research activities are numerous, and I want to appreciate the U.S. Library for the exhibition put up about my works. I just want to explain here that my professor, Sohi, called me and said, we must target our research at fundamental psychomotor activities that cut across everything you do in movement sciences. And that was the reason why we were interested in actually looking at speed, how maybe laughter, vision, anxiety, and so on affect psychomotor activities. So that was our target as researchers at that time. So we're interested in looking at speed, look at balance, look at agility, look at strength against all these psychological constructs. And we're looking at performances at that level, including laughter. So when I say we should be laughing, let us be laughing. You gain a lot by laughing. So we look at all these things, frequency and impact of laughing and personality traits and state, among others, on sports performances. All the motor performance studies are well articulated here. The reason for that is what I've just explained. It means that if you can perform well on these psychomotor activities, you are likely not to be suffering the negatives of those psychological constructs. And as I go ahead in this lecture, you will see the continuous revelation of that fundamental research that I engage in with Professor A.S. Sohi. We know that a lot of motor fitness activities, they include accuracy, agility, which I've mentioned. Then deficiencies in basic movement activities. We discovered, and I'm sure some of my students are here, particularly those of them in human growth and development. I used to ask them to stand up and take a walk. And you see that majority of us, you don't know how to walk. So one student asked me one day, how are you determining whether I can work or not? I said, bring your shoes. So when he removed his shoes, and I saw where the shoe was chopping in, I said, my friend, if you can walk very well, your shoe will not be chopping on the side. It will be chopping at the end. If you are walking tall, it is when you have enough strength, you are accurate, you can work with major speed, that you discover that your shoes, maybe you want to check your shoes now and see where it is appealing for you to know whether you can walk well or not. So, but how do you acquire this skill? There are three phases. You have the cognitive phase, like what I'm explaining to you now. I'm sure many of us, after leaving this hall, you go and watch how you walk. So that you go and buy a new shoe. If the other one is bad already, buy a new shoe and you start. What you have had there is the cognition. Then the fixation is when you start trying it. That's the fixation phase. Then it becomes, you automize it in your body. I, Professor Oluwaseum Omotayo, when I walk now, I don't have to think about how to walk. Because I walk tall, and walking tall means that you are walking straight. And if you check my steppings, it's going to be the cat work. Go and check the cat. The cat, 1, 2, 3. If you don't know that a cat has passed through a place, you think it is only one animal that passed through the place. But the 4 legs will go after each other. It will be like a straight line. So those are the things that we work on. So each phase is facilitated, each phase of cognition, fixation, and automation is facilitated by the motivational roles of significant others who formally or informally contribute to training at each of the phases of motor skill acquisition by managing motivation, goals, and setting levels of aspiration, instrumental aggression, and anxiety, to mention a few of the psychological factors that influence acquisition of these fundamental psychomotor skills that are required for optimum athletic performances across all sports and games, including prescribed exercises, which, of course, today is now medicine. And that is the philosophy behind the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine, so that not too many people will be going to the hospital. They will come to that school and will be given non-pharmaceutical approach to the management of occupational ailments that all of us are suffering from, apart from optimizing the performances of sportsmen and women. So exercise is what? It's medicine, prescribed by experts. And those experts are being produced from the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine of this university, the first of its kind in Africa, I can say that. I worked on anxiety, I've mentioned anxiety. But the finding of that research, it has implication on coaching points, if there are coaches here listening, for sports coaches when training athletes in such sports and games requiring high degree of accuracy and balance for optimum performance. I worked on nature of incentives. I would have delved on this because they are well displayed by the University Library at the exhibition. But at this point, I want to appreciate a past president of the Republic of Ghana, Professor John Atta Mills, who, when Ghana football team won a world competition, rather than give them money that they can spend within 1 month and so on, he rather purchased shares for those sportsmen, I mean the footballers, in blue chip companies in Ghana. I don't know what has happened to that. This research was like Professor Tamil saw the result of this research, and that made him to rather go the way of doing something that's enduring for those footballers at that time. I'm sure if you go and check, you will be able to verify what I've just said. Then professionalism and attitude. What we got here is that sportsmen and women are just interested in performing and winning laurels. They are not interested in how they do it. I think they abandon sportsmanship for gamesmanship. And in that class, they can go any length to win any event, because they actually rated hostile aggression ahead of instrumental aggression in this study of professionalism and fair play attitude. As a matter of fact, they are even indifferent to ergogenic aids. They are not bothered if they have to use performance-enhancing drug in order to win. Thank God that WADA is clamping down on that, and we have had a reduction in the use of ergogenic aid in sports performance. Then I look at personality traits. This one they'll be more interested in that, but that was inspired actually by Professor Sohi, that I should check personality traits of position of sportsmen and women on the field of play. And they were able to come up with some findings that today, each time I look at the finding of this research, I want to say, how can the research continue to be true of football players? It might, I don't know, some people might not like it, but a lot of football players exhibit low scholastic mentality. I found that in my research, which shows that a lot of our football players need guidance in whatever they do while competing, particularly when they are no longer competing. Because you need to, because if you have low scholastic mental capacity, then it's difficult for you to translate technique to tactics. And that is why, don't blame those coaches. I think it is the mental capacity of those players that has made it difficult for them to listen to the tactics and put tactics into practice. This research brought that out very clearly. Then I worked on gender. I'm sure my Vice Chancellor will be happy about that. I don't want men here to say I'm discriminating in terms of gender. Please forgive me. I saw that the ladies that came to dance for us, all of them are ladies. And they dance very well, to my admiration. I don't know about you. And I'm sure this university is progressing now. If you look at the management of this university, it is managed by women. My Vice Chancellor, so Auditorium, and the registrar. And when they came with cultural troupe, they came with an all-women cultural troupe that did very well. But what I'm saying here is that at the initial stage, there was this problem with women coming into soccer. And we discovered that the problem actually is of cultural issue. And as we went ahead, after discovering why women are not coming to soccer, we identified and isolated cultural issues. We now had to go into an advocacy to continue to talk to parents to allow their female counterparts to also come into female soccer. And we now said they should remove the word female or male. When it comes to football, they will say Nigeria and Ghana is playing. But when Ghana women and Nigerian women want to play, they will say female football. Football is football. So remove the word female. All of them are footballers. And today, Nigeria has won almost all the competitions in Africa about female football. And if you look at Nigeria today, those that are excelling in female football, in football, are the females, to the extent that the only Nigerian soccer team going to the Olympics is the female team. And I think they have been going to several of those teams. So that's about the dominance of Nigeria in female football, or in football. I'm also guilty of it now. until another research is done. I think we need to research into other areas that may be delimiting the interest of women in football. After the sudden death and shocking demise of my mentor in the field of sports psychology, unlike Liverpool Football Club, I found myself actually working alone. This saw me work and other psychological and sociological factors in sports without a mentor or research associate. All the ones that I tried to bring with me, one of them is here. They all went to where money is. Dr. Oluwaseum, she's here. Stand up. I can still ask you to stand up, and I was your teacher. Instead of her joining me in the academia, she went into administration. But thank God she's doing well now. And others like that, they are just scattered. Shola Ogunowo, they are chasing money, not academics. But I must confess that I'm enjoying part of that money that they are chasing. So I looked into personality attributes of soccer coaches. I discovered in that study that if a match ends, either win or lose in football, the coaches and the entire management team of that team, they burn out equally. Both winners and losers, they burn out equally. What am I saying? It has implication on the health management of sports coaches, particularly football coaches. So please, the winner coach is treated like somebody who in an accident did not bleed, but may have internal bleeding. Then you go and meet somebody that is bleeding, you are taking care of that person. Suddenly you find that the one that is not bleeding collapsed. That is the situation of successful and unsuccessful coaches. They burn out equally. So management of their emotional health or general health should be the same. We also talked about certification of coaches. I think that is much the business of coaches. Then coach leader behavior. I looked into coach leader behavior and I came to a conclusion that most coaches just stay by one approach in leadership, whereas they are supposed to exhibit all attributes of coach leader behavior. The attribute of a democratic attitude, autocratic attitude, social support attitude, and positive biofeedback attitude. These attitudes should be exhibited by coaches situationally. You should know when you should be autocratic as a coach, when you want to be laissez-faire, when you want to give social support, and when you want to be democratic. Coaches should know this, should not be rigid on your behavior. My research here showed that very clearly. Then the home advantage in football. All of us know that the home advantage is there, and what we are saying that the high point is that high exhibition of instrumental aggression behavior, most times in competitive situations, may be disruptive of the winning mentality of sportsmen and women, particularly the footballers. Then look at the study of burnout. By inference, sports coaches, therefore, need psychotherapy irrespective of overall outcome of a soccer match or competition. Overt behavior in football, hooliganism and vandalism. It was prevalent at some point. We researched into it, and we discovered that the perception of soccer players on the appropriateness of identified solutions to soccer game hooliganism and vandalism is such that they will not want them to be punished in an empty stadium. Soccer players are not happy when they are not playing where the spectators are. because what we identified as panacea to hooliganism and vandalism, long suspension of the aggressor team, heavy fines, payment or resuscitation and restitution in cases of vandalism, banishment to another stadium, playing in an empty stadium. Soccer players rated playing in an empty stadium as the worst punishment you can give to anybody, and they do not want to take it. So if you really want to stop vandalism and hooliganism, that is the punishment. Let that team go and play in an empty stadium, so that the soccer players will talk to their fans that, please, if you want to be seeing us, then don't come and be vandalistic in the stadium or display hooliganism of any sort. That shows the importance of spectators to football players. I was involved in research in Kenyatta University, and the one that comes to mind, there are just two. One is the mtDNA haplotype of Kenya endurance runners, and we're able to pin down the fact that why the Kenyans are very strong in long distance races is a function of the interplay of their mothers. They have picked that enduring strength from their mothers. And that's why at some point we were thinking of taking some athletes from, some men from West Africa. They should go to East Africa, go and pregnate women there, so that those women will now give birth to children with the same mtDNA, so that West Africa can start competing with the East Africans in the long distance races. Unless we do that, let me tell you here, no West African will beat a Kenyan in races even beyond 5,000 meters, even 1,005. Because in the country where they are made, in their country, Chepkwelel, when you are there in the morning, it's like there's a riot. Everybody is running helter-skelter to where they are going. Children run to school, mothers run to fetch water, and things like that. So please, if we want that to happen, then West Africa has to do what I said. Let us send some men to Kenya, get their women, crossbreed them, so that they can be long-distance runners. You see, that's why I've not bothered to go to Gembu in Nigeria, where they say they are training long-distance runners. It is more biological and pathological. It has nothing to do with where you are. What you have in Nigeria and Gembu, they also have in Kenya. But the difference is that those mothers have the right type of mtDNA that has given them the type of muscle fiber that they require to continue to run and run and run and run until they are stopped. Then that brought me to the issue of athletes and retirement. I was able to discover that in the world of retirement, it ends with the statutory retirement age, 65 or 35. But sportsmen and women retirement issues has little to do or nothing to do with chronology. It is about either a new athlete has come up that is doing better than you, or you discover that you are just aging and the body cannot train again. So when you are beaten in 100 meters, then you go home. Then they say you are an old athlete at the age of 28. When you get injured and you are unable to take care of that, to manage the injury, then you retire, maybe at the age of maybe 25, 26, and so on. Professor Ladipo is here. I think that's his area more than I do. I'm sure he knows the exact age where those injuries are many. And between you and I must confess to you that I actually retired when I discovered that I could not complete my workout as a 400 meters runner. I couldn't complete it. And at that point, I called it quits in track and field. And at that point, what was my age? I think I was just 25. Imagine that I was not a professor that can stay up to now. That is when I would have gone to my house, that I'm no longer an athlete. So retirement of sportsmen and women is unique in terms of the circumstances of their requirement. So it was the analysis of this old age matter that earned me the ICPA SD Award of Sports Leadership at the anniversary Congress in 2005. And that made me the first Nigerian and African to win that award. I don't want to delve on athletes, Kenyan athletes' endurance capacity, genetic component, mtDNA. Please pardon me, I have to move ahead. Advocacy for more sports research. I think that is ongoing. Now, creativity in sports coaching science. When I worked at the University of Ibadan Sports Council, I already had my master's degree in sports psychology, and I was on the PhD. I found myself working with Coach Sia Pobene, somebody that I refer to unarguably the best track coach I think Africa has produced. And then when I saw the workload, being a sports scientist myself, I said, Coach, why are you giving this kind of heavy workload to Olanrewaju, one of our athletes at that time? He said, Omoti, as he usually calls me, he said, you know, you just passed out from the University of Sports Psychology. Please go and deploy your expertise or your competence on this lady. Please motivate her to complete all my workout. I said, Coach, why are you interested in all this heavy workout? He said he wants to produce the first individual that will win 6 gold medals in one athletics meet. I couldn't understand that. And as at that time, well, as a young man, and psychology was still burning in my brain, I started encouraging Caroline, complete your workout, do this and so on and so on. At the end of the day, in that Nuga Games, that lady won 6 gold medals as predicted. She won the 100 meters, the 200 meters, the 4x100 meters with her team. She joined the 4x400 meters team to win the gold. She won the long jump and also won the high jump in that event. And that made her the only human being on earth today that has won 6 gold medals in any track and field meet in the world. I stand to be corrected by that assertion. We achieved that in 1986, myself and Coach Pobene. Then we went and replicated the same thing at the African Games in 1987. Because when he was being called upon to come and coach the national team at that time, he took me along with him. And we deployed the same heavy workout, this time with American, Nigerian athletes. And we went to the African Games, and it paid off in the 4x100 again, when for the first time, Nigeria defeated Kenya in 4x400 meters relay, which made the president of Kenya at that time, Daniel Arap, to say that the anchor leg of Nigeria is Innocent Egbunike. And the president said, this Egbunike is not innocent. In the manner in which he caught up with all the Kenyan athletes, and Nigeria came first in that competition. That was what earned me the special recognition of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for my contribution to the success of that team. I was at Oluwaseum Olanrewaju University, and the only thing I can mention in that place, which is significant to me, is that when I had my last lecture, my last training or assessment at University of Ibadan as a student, when I left the swimming pool, because I'm very hydrophobic, so when I left the swimming pool, everything about swimming, I left in that swimming pool. And I told myself that I'm not going to head any physical and health education department if I had the opportunity. When I got to Agoiwe, the Vice Chancellor then appointed me head of department. And for about 2 weeks, I didn't write him a letter of acceptance. And because we are friends, we are troublesome young academic, the man saw me and said, oh, Sheon called me my first day. I haven't seen your letter of acceptance. I said, I'm my Vice Chancellor. I told myself when I passed out of the university that I won't head a physical health education department. She said, what do you mean? I said, because after my 4th year in Ibadan, I discovered that what I read was actually sports science and not physical education. The man said, what do we do? I said, well, if you want to change the name of that school, that department, they will accept your appointment as head of department. He said, then go and process it. And by the grace of God, I put up the process among my colleagues, got to the faculty level, got to the university senate, and I got that approval to change the name of that department from physical health education to sports science and health education. And that became a trailblazer in Nigeria today. And that was when all such departments, either in university or colleges of education, changed from physical education to human kinetics and health education. I also want to use this opportunity to tell all of us in that field, human kinetics is even not all embracing. The word is sports science. I use this opportunity to tell all of them to go a step further, to change from human kinetics to sports science and health education if they so need. Because that is what will bring them at par or near the Department of Sports and Exercise Medical Sciences of University of Health and Allied Sciences. But Vice Chancellor, this school and our department, I think, is the only one in the whole of this part of Africa, West Africa. So that was trailblazing. Vice Chancellor, I'm delighted that the University of Health and Allied Sciences gave me the opportunity to deploy my understanding of subject matter of sports and exercise medicine to draw up the curriculum that led to the establishment of the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine, which is captured in the act that established the University of Health and Allied Sciences. This is an innovation in the establishment of tertiary institutions, which I recommend to other African countries. I'm happy to state that the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine, with 4 departments, namely Department of Sports Nutrition, Department of Sports Psychology and Rehabilitation, Department of Sports Marketing and Management, and Department of Sports and Exercise Medical Sciences, which took off in 2019 with less than 13 students, have grown to 96 students in the only functioning department, and the 13 students, first cohort, are already been very much sought after in the sports science job market. Kudos to the US hands-on approach to curriculum implementation. So we are now going to go to other specific areas that I would like us to touch on before I close this lecture. Please, at this point, I would want us to start laughing. Please, let us laugh. Why are we laughing? It is because of this video. Because laughter played a lot of role in what was achieved in this video. This is the result of 13 months of laughter that made Nigeria to be very accurate in scoring 5 penalty kicks against Russia, in which Nigeria won that memorable match, which is today referred to as the Daman miracle. So let us laugh. I must quickly now move to an area that is very passionate to me, which I want to actually touch on. I'm not going to talk about these other areas, but this aspect that I'm going to is very, very important. Yeah. Vice Chancellor Ma, I'm happy to state that the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine of US is unique in Africa in terms of curriculum and curriculum implementation. The facilities of the 13th African Games at Baltimore, with a well-structured human performance laboratory, comes in handy to upscale the training of students and enhance both research and community services aspects of the programs of the school that focuses the promotion of exercise as medicine, among other activities of capacity building in Ghana's sports ecosystem. The positive multiplier effect of government ceding the facilities to Oluwaseum is huge and highly beneficial to sustainable sports development in Ghana. I therefore use this opportunity to appeal to the sports-friendly government of the Republic of Ghana under His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo to consider this suggestion favorably and expeditiously hand the Baltimore facilities over to the University of Health and Allied Sciences for the use of the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine as a strategy to prevent functional and structural facilities decay, particularly with regard to the facilities of the 13th African Games. By so doing, Ghana would have laid the foundation of a full-fledged specialized sports university, which the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine can easily metamorphose into. I want to use this opportunity, of this lecture, to make a persuasive call to the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that is my country, under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to establish the Federal Sports University in Nigeria without further delay, so as to insulate the facilities at the National Stadium in Surulere, Lagos, and the Moshood Abiola Kashimawo Stadium in Abuja from experiencing perennial functional and structural decay. These are the facilities in Baltimore. You can imagine how well this university would have done if we had all these facilities at our disposal. I'm sure the president or his men and our regional minister is here to pass this message to our dear president. I have Honorable Ojuri here, who can pass the message to the President of Nigeria, because the representative of government here is the closest person to government as we speak here. Vice Chancellor, records show that in the past 37 years, I've facilitated 27 different prescribed courses in sports science and health education degree programs. And the universities are listed here. I cannot keep track of the progress of all these students, but some spread across Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya stand out. These distinguished academics and sports professionals that I'm very proud of, some of them are seated in this hall today. And I'll just showcase them. The man in academic gown, who was my student, Professor Andy Fadoju, is also delivering his own inaugural lecture today and at this time. Though the two of us are not too happy with ourselves, but there's nothing we can do about it. He wanted to be here, and I also wanted to be in Ibadan. So these are my products. Some of them are even working in this university. The incoming acting HOD was my mentor. And I also have the best student I produced here in Ghana, Dr. Courage Adenyo. Is he in the hall? Ah, okay. He's the best of them all because he made the first class. And I produced Lieutenant Colonel in the army. So even though I was unable to be a soldier, I produced this soldier man. And Dr. Donko, also that is joining us soon, was my student. I made recommendations which we can go and read in our district. Ladies and gentlemen, Vice Chancellor, I thank God and I want to appreciate the Japong family. Professor John Osu Japong, the immediate past Vice Chancellor of this university, and the amiable wife, who in her right too is an academic of in repute. I thank Professor Japong because he believed in me in the delivery of the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine, despite my medical condition. He kept me on the job, and we thank God today we're able to realize his dream for this university, my own dream too, and I'm sure the dream of all of us here. Professor Japong coincidentally was here at the last convocation, and I was privileged to have this photograph with him, which I will cherish for a long time. Well, my family is here, my Vice Chancellor, and I tell you that if you have the kind of family that I have, or if anybody had the kind of family that I have, I think everybody has everything. My big sister, that's my family. Number one is my senior sister, Ayo, my younger brother, Professor, the environmentalist, Tola, then the Florence Nightingale, she's here, the farmer, and Professor Tope Omotayo. These are my children, my daughter. Through her, I'm a grandfather of two. Then in the middle, standing like the sheriff, that's my first son. Then my special son, Abimbola. Then my two other sons. That one is in Ho here, Ho Technical University. And the last born, Okiki. My social family, they are here. When I say social family, you heard my salutation. They are all mentioned. I also want to appreciate Professor Asante Awuku, who led the medical team that took care of me when I was ill. I want to thank Professor Eric Ofori and Pastor Fatou Kon, including Mr. Benjamin Boateng, who initially came to my rescue and took me to the hospital when Professor Japong gave an order that I should be given the best of treatment. That team was led by Professor Asante Awuku. I'm not sure if he's here. He sent me a message this morning. And they actually resuscitated me. But it can only be God. As the saying goes, doctors care, God heals. In closing this lecture, my Vice Chancellor, there are some personalities that will just believe in you. Anything you say you want to do, they don't query it. They just ask you, hey, Shane, why are you going to do this and so on? I want to make mention of these personalities. Well, I've mentioned it several times, Professor Omotayo. You will not tell me not to do it, but you give me support. Professor Lasubadamoshi is not here. I'm sure he will be glued to his Zoom. Professor Craig Mahoney, I was told this morning that he was the first person to come into the Zoom room. I'm sure he's watching here. Vice Chancellor of the University of West of Scotland and the Chief Executive today of the Education Group of London, UK. Professor Oluwaseum Ajayi, Eruda Professor of Geological Science, Engineer Olanrewaju Omotayo, an environmental engineer, Mr. David Shobande, a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, Comrade Dr. Niyo Shoba, the Giwa Egbe-Babagunte, Okunrin Asiwaju Akinlejebu, and the Asiwaju of that Egbe and Etagiwa, Dr. Solomon Alao, a very good brother, Mr. Shola Ogunowo, Barrister Wale Adekola of the Cathedral, Mr. Femi Abioye, and my son, Oluwaseum Olanrewaju. That's another person who supports me unwaveringly in the last 37 years. I must also mention late Dr. Emmanuel Uswansa, who is the Encyclopedia of Ghana Sports, former technical advisor to Ghana Sports Minister, patron of African Sports Union, and gold medal award. Vice Chancellor, sometimes when my ideas are crazy, all these people always stand by me with unwavering optimism this past 37 years. I thank all the staff and students of UAS. Already in the sports ecosystem, these students are doing well. I appreciate all those I have worked with. And I assure the university, because this project SEM, it is not yet Uhuru, because the growth and development of the school is work in progress. I assure the university management that I shall continue to seek the sustainable growth and development of the school. Vice Chancellor, I told you at the opening of the exhibition a few things about my attachment to the school and by extension, the university. At this juncture, I'm delighted to announce the Professor Oluwaseum Olanrewaju Omotayo Prize for the level 400 student with the highest A grade score in SEM 401 Applied Sports Psychology course. The institutionalization of this prize, which shall be administered by managers of the Oluwaseum Omotayo Foundation, is the funiculus umbilicalis that ties me and my family to the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine, and by extension, the university in perpetuity. Vice Chancellor, it has not been bed of roses, but I particularly left those downs. There are so many ups, just as there are so many downs. And I've quoted the late sage in Nigeria in taking care of that area. The Vice Chancellor has explained why an Exaugural lecture. Indeed, on behalf of my family and the entire, on myself and the entire Omotayo descendants, home and in diaspora, I sincerely thank the Vice Chancellor, Professor Lydia Aziato, for allowing me to deliver this lecture, which signposts my retirement from the classroom. My gratitude to you and the entire university management shall remain evergreen, as the event shall be stored in my long-term memory. Vice Chancellor, just as you have put smiles in the face and that of my entire family. May your smiles never fade. Madam Registrar, Ms. Mankwa Opune, I thank you for your support from the one that I resumed in August 2019. In this connection, I am very grateful to Mr. Ofoyi Gato, whom I can easily refer to as my brother from another parentage, for his unflinching support for me this past 5 years. I met him on the 1st of August 2019 on the instructions of the current registrar, and ever since then, we have bonded. The pioneer school officer, somebody who ordinarily would not be talking if she's not my school officer, Mrs. Charity Osei. I'm not an administrator, but I tell you, she gave a lot of administrative guidance at the inception of the school. I quite appreciate your assistance. Vice Chancellor, in these past 37 years, I must have offended a lot of people. So I plead for their forgiveness, and I'm sure they will grant my supplication. With all this, with all Mandela said, what was said in Proverbs 17:19, and what was said in Psalm 133-4, I'm sure they will grant my supplication. Finally, while I thank everybody who graced this occasion with physical and virtual presence, I refer to verse 12 of Psalm 113. What shall I render unto the Lord for all his benefits towards me? You see, in my own case, I don't have to ask for what will I render. I know what to render. It's nothing but songs of praise to God. I don't know if the U.S. choir can sing that with me at short notice. Any songs of praise to God. But I'm retiring, but I want to tell you I'm not tired. And borrowing from the songs of the legendary Jimmy Cliff, Many Rivers to Cross, I think we can render that in our hearts. As I retire from the walls of the classroom, I'm definitely not tired of sports-related community services and consultancy engagements. As I move on to the new challenge of growing and developing the International Sports Institute, the Virtual Sports Institute, where sports and education mix with the focus of bridging the manpower gap in the sports industry. Madam Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, this is my odyssey. Akpe Namawu, Mediase, Eshekupo.
may we kindly take our seats whilst we give another round of applause to our lecturer. The father of the region is in our midst yet again. He's a friend to the university. And today happens to be his birthday too. And so the choir, it's your turn to give us a song. I wish you could give what Professor Omotayo requested. If you don't, that's okay. You're going to sing for him another occasion. In addition, the university management and the university community will have you sing a happy birthday song for our regional minister too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor, Council members, the Registrar, who was also born on a Thursday. I was born on a Thursday, and my birthday falls on a Thursday. So I actually came to the lecture to honor my Professor Omotayo, who has served for 5 years. He's been a wonderful man. And on behalf of government, we want to tell him that we appreciate his services to our nation, Ghana, and to this great university located in the Volta region of Ghana. We are so proud of you, Professor, and you have said that you never break links. We would always be in touch with you, Professor. Anytime we are in Nigeria, we'll visit you. So look forward to tell President Tinubu that you'll be receiving a visitor from Volta region. And I must be hosted in the State House in Abuja. So, Prof, congratulations to you. And I think I'm overwhelmed. I was born several years ago. I'm much older than Professor. But I don't want you to guess my age. But I'm 67 today. And we thank God for His grace. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the choir. God bless you for wishing me a wonderful birthday. It's going to be a great day. And I hope to see you where the action will be. Thank you very much.
Prof. Chair, permit me to call upon some individuals and organizations to make some presentations. The first one will be done by Professor Lydia Aziato on behalf of the management and staff of UAS.
Prof, I think that you sit down as we give you your presentations because of your health challenges. So this citation is from the university, UHAS, to you. It's a very, very simple one. And this is in commemoration of your Exaugural lecture. And as a foundation faculty of the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine, the management, staff, and students hereby acknowledge and appreciate your laudable contribution over and above the call of duty. Congratulations.
Professor Judith Anaman on behalf of the UHA Sports Committee. This is from the UHA Sports Committee. The next one will be from Professor Kole Kote, Acting Dean, School of Sports and Exercise Medicine. Professor Oladipo, HOD Sports Exercise Medicine should get ready. Mr. Samuel Oteng, rep for level 400 students. Get ready. Mr. Hansen Dakota, rep level 200. Mr. Joseph Ado, Sports and Exercise Medicine Sciences Students Association. This is from the Sports and Exercise Medicine Sciences Students Association. This is from the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine.
Citation from our department reads, "It is with a spirit of ebullience and profound respect that we gather today to honor our own Professor Oluwaseum Olanrewaju Omotayo, a distinguished scholar, inspiring leader, and the pioneer head of the Department of Sports and Exercise Medical Sciences. As we mark this exaugural lecture, we reflect on your remarkable contributions and enduring legacy. Your journey with us began 5 years ago at a time when the department was merely an idea, a vision waiting to be realized. Through your unyielding commitment to excellence, you transformed that vision into the thriving academic community we know today. Under your leadership, the department achieved new heights of academic excellence and foster a culture of innovation, inclusivity, and collaboration. Throughout your tenure, you demonstrated intellectual rigor and compassionate mentorship, nurturing the growth of countless students and faculty members. Your contributions to sports psychology have advanced our understanding of the field and inspired future generations of scholars and practitioners. Your leadership extended beyond our department, playing a pivotal role in the broader academic community, serving on numerous committees, contributing to research, and representing our department nationally and internationally. Thank you, Professor Oluwaseum Omotayo, for leaving an indelible mark on our hearts and minds. Your legacy will always inspire us as we build upon the strong foundation you have laid. Congratulations, Ayiko.
Engineer Dr. Mrs. Kameji would make a presentation. The School of Sports and Exercise Medicine will do another presentation. The second, Professor Omotayo, rep of the family, will also do a presentation.
I don't need the mic. I don't need the mic. Thank you very much. Well, I want to say a big thank you for everybody for coming here. In the first instance, I want to appreciate God for his grace, for his mercy, the Ancient of Days, the King of Kings, the one without an equal, the one that opened that no one can shut, the one that shut that no one can open, for giving me a fantastic brother, a mentor, a father figure since our father left over 30 years ago. He introduced me to the study of Ferdinand, and today I can say, sir, I'm a professor of Ferdinand retired. Thank you. Well, I'm the last one in the family of 7, and I'm this tall because nobody to breastfeed after me, so I spend enough time to breastfeed, that's why I'm this tall. And because of that, I want to appreciate the Vice Chancellor. I want to appreciate the entire university community. I want to appreciate the nation of Ghana. We appreciate them for fantastic football and stylish football. The day of Abedi Pele and the rest, and the appreciation for allowing Africa to win the first Under-20 World Cup in 2009. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. At this point, I cannot say much, but to say, by his grace, days of our honor, we shall be there to be celebrated. For all my fathers that are traveling from Nigeria with us, we are on the road for hours. But we know we are coming to the nation of Ghana that has given us, as fellow West Africans, to appreciate one another. We say thank you again for his grace. Sir, from Nigeria, we are grateful. The entire Omotayo family is grateful. To the nation of Ghana, we are grateful. To the government of Ghana, sir, we are grateful. Happy birthday once again. And at this moment, I want to call on my sister. And for the next set of the commission, because I've been asked not to spend too much time. Thank you very much. I sign off.
Thank you very much. Now we have come to a very significant and symbolic aspect of our Exaugural lecture today. I invite the Vice Chancellor, Professor Lydia Aziato, to do the derobing, but give us the significance and the meaning of it first. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Registrar. I want to invite Professor Togbe Tagbadete to help me in this ceremony. Please be seated. After 37 years, our professor has served, and we can all see that due to health reasons, he's bowing out today. Normally, at 60 in Ghana, we retire. But as professors, you can do 10 more years of post-retirement contracts in the university. So at 70, you can now bow out. But at 64, our professor is bowing out. In his lecture, he said that he's retired but not tired, and he will be engaging in further community services and consultancies in the area of sports psychology. When you are a professor or you become a PhD holder, your academic gown is for life. So even though we are going to do this symbolic activity, Professor Omotayo can wear the gown at any time. But at the University of Health and Life Sciences, he is bowing out of the classroom today. So symbolically, he's going to take off the rope, give his final bow, and we hand him over to the family. So, Prof, if you can stand. Registrar, if you can join us. The Dean of the school, if you can join us, take off his robe. The hat first. So that's, yes, the hat first. And then the next one. Please hand over to the Academic Affairs Director. Back to the owner of the academic gown in the university. And the gown. The gown doesn't want to come off. They don't want we don't want professor to go home, you know. All right. So, Prof, you can step forward, give your final bow, and we'll hand you over to your family.
I bowed.
All right. So, the family, we can stand on this side. All right. Prof, please join me here. Please stand on that side, the side of your brother. Okay. So the Vice Chancellor, who is in charge of student and academic affairs, will hand over our esteemed professor back to the family.
So, God without the devil, I hand you over to your family. we thank God so much for your life, and you've done so well. And I believe that you will live long.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, you can take your seat. Please, you can go back and take your seat. Please take your seat. VC will do the closing remarks first. Oh. Thank you very much, our Vice Chancellor, our Pro Vice Chancellor, for doing this one. The choir. I would like to acknowledge our former Vice Chancellor who is watching us, among many others who are watching online. We are grateful to you, Professor John Japon, for participating with us. The choir, please, if you can do so quickly before I call the Vice Chancellor to give her closing remarks. Thank you very much. I acknowledge our council member, Dr. Mark Ameho. Thank you for coming. I'm sure the registrar will do further acknowledgements, so I rest it there. Our Honorable Minister, I'm sure he's up. Our chiefs, you've been with us. Every program, the chief of Sokode, Togwegan, we are so, so grateful. All our programs you come, we are very, very grateful to you. Pro Vice Chancellor, Registrar, Deans, Directors, members of Convocation, our dear student choir, all of us, family members from Nigeria, we thank you for making time to be with us since 10 a.m. Sports psychology. When I was listening to our distinguished professor, I was asking myself, once upon a time in the secondary school, somebody was supposed to be part of the relay, the 4x4, and the person did not finish her 10. When she got she was the first second, and I didn't finish my space, and I had to dodge. And so I was asking myself, if I had finished that relay, and maybe my house, secondary school, you'd run for your houses. We were first then. What would have happened next? So I listened carefully, and I picked a few things. The fact that the journey was supported by several people, and our professor took time to mention each and every one. And to all who contributed to the life journey, the career development, the achievement thus far of our professor, we add our voice as a university to say thank you. For those he worked with in Nigeria, in Kenya, in UK, and in Ghana, without you, he couldn't have achieved all that he said or he mentioned. And we say thank you. Exaugural lecture generally is a summary of all that you've done. And therefore, you realize that at a point he was the slides. Because if he says, he will say everything, we'll not live here today, we'll live here tomorrow. So we acknowledge the worth of work that has been done by our professor. However, in the area of sports psychology, which looks at the strength behind the sportsman or woman, which look at the mind, the mentality of the sportsman and woman, which looks at the motivation of the sportsman and woman, we acknowledge that our professor has contributed in the areas of psychomotor agility or activity. He contributed to the area of the mental states of the sportsman or woman, looking at anxiety and all that. But what made me very, very interested in his lecture was the sports woman, the female soccer footballer, the female coach. I look at it and I said that, yes, sports in general is synchronous to males, but our professor researched in women in that space. He looked at burnout syndrome, and what I was also interested in was hooliganism in sports. Many years ago, when one team in the village where I grew up wins, we realized that there will be chaos because they don't understand why that team to win and the loser will start vandalizing things. And I'm very, very grateful to our professor for bringing to bear the advocacy to say that enough of the vandalism. If you want to see us next time play, stay put. Whether we win or lose, be quiet, be peaceful, so we can come back again another time. I'm also very interested in the area of athletes' retirement. Our professor said that at 26, 28, you are retiring. I will go to 60. And if you retire early, maybe earlier because of an injury, what happens to you? And I want to recommend the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine to pick up some of these threads in the professor's lecture to see how they can develop that area further in the research of students and staff of the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine. However, I went to Kenya some time back, and I thought, because the country is mountainous, any 2 meters you walk, you have to climb a hill. I thought that it's because of that that the athletes do very well. But today, professor's lecture has drawn my attention to the mtDNA haplotype. I'm not sure whether that is the right pronunciation. And that's my son. So marry a Kenyan lady. And so that I can have some strong sportsmen and women in my family. I will sell an idea to him and see what happens. Overall, Professor said he's immortalizing himself in the annals of this university by establishing a prize in his name at the School of Sports and Exercise Medicine for the best students in sports psychology. Professor, we are very, very grateful. In addition to that, Professor has informed the university management that he's leaving a legacy by buying some equipment for the school. And again, we say we are grateful. I'll end by reiterating his call on training sports coaches or individuals in the sports space. The school is rolling out a certificate program in line with this vision. He called on the government to give us a facility. I don't want to add anything. I want it to be his call. So the Vice Chancellor, the media, it is the call of the distinguished professor. So I rest my case there. In conclusion, I want to say that a professor is of both local, national, and international, shall I say, recognition, repute. The person must be known, not only in the local country. And then, therefore, I am calling on my faculty, my convocation once again, that this is something that I'm very, very particularly interested in, that your name goes beyond the Volta region, beyond Ghana, beyond West Africa, Africa. So if you are the next Exaugural lecturer or an inaugural lecturer, I'm expecting the international recognition. On this note, we want to thank the family of our professor for coming all the way from Nigeria. They've been here for the past 3 days or so. We are very, very grateful to you. And as a university, we appreciate the students that came from our sister. So you are not a university, so our deputy baby second cycle schools, our basic school. What I want to leave with you, the young ones, is that when you have a passion in an area, don't run away to another area. You know, when he was doing the introduction, he said some of his mentees ran away and were chasing money. If you have a passion in an area, follow it through. And our Professor Omotayo has stayed in the area of sports psychology and he's made his name. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Chair. We invite Professor Oladipo, HOD Sports and Exercise Medicine, to acknowledge some dignitaries. And Mr. Antonia Sempal will also come along and do the same.
Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, I usually say to people that Professor Omotayo is tough, but from his Exaugural lecture this morning, we have seen that this man has tough-mindedness as part of his skill that he's professing for the past 37 years. This tough-minded man now asks me to join the university to acknowledge my people from Nigeria, especially Giwa, Dr. Niyi Oshoba. We say thank you to you, sir. Giwa Egbe, Babagote Okunrin Asiwaju Akile Ijebu. Thank you, sir. Giwa Honorable Adebowale Ojuri, the Giwa Egbe, Jagumola Asiwaju Akile Ijebu. Thank you, sir. Oba-elect, in Newe here, we usually call them Togbe. So we also have a Togbe from Nigeria with us. Oba-elect of Iwaya Ijebu, Obalabi Ogun Nobi. Thank you, sir. Professor Wolabi Ajayi, Professor of Geology, we appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Olori Ebi, David Shobande. Thank you, sir. Oluomo, Professor James Banjo, Professor of Vocational Agricultural Education. Thank you, sir. Dr. Oluyomi Oluwaseum, she's the Director, School Sports, Lagos State Sports Commission, Nigeria. Thank you, ma. You're welcome. Otumba Dr. and Chief Mrs. Honorable Adebowale Adeniyi, and their son, Desi Desiree, thank you, my dear. Mrs. Oluwaseum Olanrewaju Ahmed. Prof has been calling her the Florence Nightingale of the family. Thank you, ma. Professor Oluwaseum Omotayo, Professor of Aging and Retirement at Auditorium University. Thank you, sir. Oluyemi Awoye, the Madam of Professor Oluwaseum Omotayo. Madam, thank you for taking care of our father. Dr. Courage Odayo of Department of Basic Education, University of Education, Winneba. Thank you very much. We appreciate you from Nigeria and abroad. Thank you.
We continue to acknowledge Dr. Mark Amaho, council member. Our landlord, Dr. Ashibord Lecture, the regional minister. Togbe Fian Koku, who is always with us, the paramount chief of the Sokode traditional area. We acknowledge your presence. Our immediate past pro-vice chancellor, Professor Seth Owusu Aji. We further acknowledge Dr. Chrysostus Kubio, Volta Regional Director of Health. Deputy Superintendent of Immigration, there Erasmus Sekwa, we acknowledge your presence. Assistant Divisional Officer 1 of Ghana Fire Service, Mauli Amadou, you are welcome. ASP Seidu Kudria, Municipal Police Commander, you are welcome. Mr. Shaibu Ibrahim Tanko, Gusa President, UDS, you are welcome. Mr. Abubakari Muhammad, University of Development Studies Coach, you are welcome. Mr. Johnson Abuaji from Ho Technical University, we acknowledge your presence. Mr. and Mrs. Agbola of Ho Technical University, we acknowledge your presence as well. We acknowledge the presence of all our deans and directors here in gathered. We appreciate your participation. Our student from SEM, we acknowledge your presence as well. Okay. We also acknowledge the presence of Pastor Benjamin Fakoke, yes, from Christ, Redeemed Christ Church, who we are also very appreciative of our higher school in UHAS. That's the UHAS Basic School. You are welcome. Then, Malco girls, we acknowledge your presence as well. Then, Ola girls, you are all appreciated for coming. Before I take my seat, Madam Chair, I would like to make one announcement. Tomorrow will be our World Hepatitis B Day. And we invite everybody to the Volta Regional, the whole teaching hospital taxi rank for a free test for hepatitis of all kinds. Between 9 and 2 will be there waiting for you to come and have yourself tested. And join us also in the celebration and spread the word for good health. Thank you very much.
We'll take this opportunity to thank each and every one who was here present and those online for taking part through this Exaugural lecture. We invite Mr. Ibrahim Jamfaru to give us a closing prayer.
Let's remain seated and pray. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Malik Yawmiddin Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. We thank Almighty Allah for granting us this day, for the life of our professor, for accepting to serve in this university. We pray for God's guidance, for health, that as he returns to his home, he remains in good health and forever have ties with us as he promised to us. We pray for all those who have arrived from far and near for this program, that the Almighty Allah will take everybody back home safely. I sum up this prayer. Allahumma rabbana taqabbal minna innaka anta sami'ud du'a wa tub alayna ya maulana innaka anta tawwabur rahim. آمين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين.
We'll kindly rise and do the U.S. anthem.
Giant sunshine for health and development. God bless you, hustlers. Praises you arise, great giant sunshine for health and development. God bless you, hustlers. Praises you. Great giant sunshine.
There will be group pictures in front of the council chamber. And also the exhibition still running at the foyer of the IAC lab. Invited guest council members, traditional leaders will all converge at the council chamber for an important announcement. Convocation will also meet at the foyer of council chamber for an important announcement. All student leaders should kindly see Madam Lily in front of the council chamber for an important announcement. Thank you. We will remain standing as we recess.